Let's say that contrast is a little bothering. So you know sort of what you don't want, so you know sort of what you do want. I don't want that. It's not truly bothering, but I don't want that, but I do want that. But there's not much focus in it, because I don't really not want that. I just sort of don't want that. So I sort of want that. Now, let's say that I'm really sensitive to the way I feel in my human form, and I really want to feel good. So sort of not wanting that was uncomfortable enough, and sort of wanting that was comfortable enough that I tuned myself right to that right away, so I didn't think about that again, so it didn't get bigger. So now I've tuned myself to a vibration that feels pretty good. And of course I live in the world, and it's a highly technologically advanced world, and so I have access to a lot of data from around the world, and so I again see something that I don't want. And I feel the discord of it, and it clarifies something that I do want, but again, I care enough about the way I feel that I tune my attention to what I want. So now what I begin to develop the pattern of is knowing what I don't want, knowing what I do want, lining up with it. Knowing what I don't want, knowing what I do want, lining up with it. So I begin creating a solution-based life experience without much drama or trauma. So the question is, could I end up as masterful as someone who selects all the trauma and drama? And the answer to that is yes. In other words, I was just sensitive and I was more focused. What we notice, however, with most humans is you don't get serious about focusing until it really gets uncomfortable. The next book is going to be called Spirituality and the Law of Attraction. But the subtitle is The Last Frontier. And it's just our nicer way of saying your last ditch effort. Because most people won't line up their energy until all other avenues, drug me and chop it off of me and cut it out of me. And if that doesn't work, then I'll change my vibration. As if changing vibration is the more difficult thing to do. So let's get back to the specifics of what you are focused upon here. So if we were standing in your physical shoes, we'd have a healthy dose of life just like you all do. We'd get rooted in the contrast just like you all do. And we pay attention to our emotions as we are encouraging you to do. And we would be less willing to tolerate the indication of vibrational discord than almost all of you do. We would be cleaning up our vibration at the slightest whiff of discomfort. We wouldn't be standing around saying, I can take it. I can take it. It can get a lot worse than that. Oh, I'll clean it up eventually, but I can take it. We wouldn't be doing that. We'd be getting into the vortex every chance we could. So if you're in a state of fear, you're nowhere near your vortex. But the source energy that is you, who is in the vortex, still continues to call you. And as you hear the call, you may move up this emotional scale. Fear and disempowerment on one far end, and love and joy and appreciation on the other. As you begin moving closer to your vortex, you'll move from despair and utter disempowerment into revenge, into rage and anger. You move right through into a little less anger until you're in overwhelmment and frustration. And if you keep moving, you'll bump right into the vibration that we describe with the emotional word hope. And when you are chronically hopeful, you're chronically on the verge of your vortex. And when you're chronically on the verge of your vortex, law of attraction will draw you in. And once you get drawn in, you'll have exposure to experiences that will help you to believe. In other words, from hope to belief is just one swirl of the vortex. In other words, in you are, and there you meet someone. There someone hands you the key. There you read something. There you come to know something. And if you hang around in the vortex on a pretty chronic regular basis, you'll thrive in ways that those outside the vortex will never understand. They'll call you lucky. They might even call you weird, because it's weird for you to be joyful in these economic times. It's weird for you to be thriving. What are you up to? Are you dealing drugs, they say? It's weird for you to be healthy in an environment where so many are sick. It's weird for you to be full of life. It's weird for you to be frisky in a depressed economy, you see. But from inside the vortex, you're looking at life, even your life here on planet Earth, through the eyes of Source. You're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, in vibrational alignment with all that you have become. And that is the most important thing that we want to help you to understand. The emotions that you feel are your indicator of how much you are allowing yourself to be all that you've become, or how much you are resisting or disallowing. Your emotions are giving you all of that. If you can think, regardless of the condition, a thought that puts you in the vortex, the condition has to change. And you know why? Because the condition, only and ever and always, is a vibrational indicator. The conditions, the reality, whatever they are, the money, the relationships, the bodily conditions, every condition is a manifestational indicator of vibration. And when you can disregard the reality, when you can disregard those indicators by directing your thoughts to things that cause you to feel good, by directing your thoughts to things that align you with the source that is really you, by directing your thoughts to the whole of who you are, to the solution rather than the problem, to the answer rather than the question. When you think, regardless of the condition, you're living unconditional love, you go into the vortex, and then what happens is your condition has to change, because remember, it was an indicator of your vibration. And when you're in the vortex, your vibration matches your desire, not what's gone wrong. Your vibration matches the solution, no longer the problem. Your vibration matches the answer, no longer the question. You see how it works? Every time you ask, it's given, and it's given because the larger part of you becomes the vibrational equivalent of what you've asked for. And in order for you to have the manifestation that you want to call your reality, you've got to match up with what you've asked for, and you can't do it by looking at the absence of it. We want to get across to you in a way that you will always remember that when you don't feel good, when you're discouraged or depressed or overwhelmed or afraid, when you're worried, when you're angry, when you're fearful, when you have any of those negative emotions bubbling within you, what it means every single time is that your life caused you to expand, and right now you stubbornly aren't going. The larger part of you went to a newer, clearer, better feeling, more evolved, more expansive place, just like you knew you would cause to happen by your association with physical life out here on the leading edge. But you didn't go. You didn't take the bounce. You're still justifying why you want it. I really need these things I've asked for because I'm really sick. I'll pray for recovery from this awful thing that I have. We're beating the drum, can you tell? I don't have enough, I don't have enough, I don't have enough, I don't have enough, I've never had enough, I've never had enough, I've never had enough, I've never had enough. It's not fair that those others have so much. It's not fair that those others have so much. And what we want you to understand is that as long as you are still poking around at the vibration that has caused you to expand, you're going to feel awful because you're not letting yourself expand. You're stuck in what you call reality. And we want you to understand that everything that you see around you, every manifestation, your Earth spinning in its orbit in perfect proximity to other planets, all of it was vibrationally happening first. All of it was in this vortex of creation first. All of it was a vibrational reality before it came into view by you. Esther had a sort of startling revelation not very long ago where she was grouchy about something that had happened, and the more she thought about it, the grouchier she was. And then other thoughts off the subject, but same sort of vibrational core, began coming into her mind. She began remembering everything like that had ever happened to her. So she was building a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger case about it. And then it was like the whole world. It was like a conspiracy to make her life miserable. And it had all started with just one little thing that she sat and just mulled over, mused over, moaned over, complained over for not that long. So then she decided, well, if there's anyone on the planet who should clean up their act, it ought to be me. So she isolated herself away from all of those who were glad to see her go. She'd been riding around on her broom all morning. And she went to clear her mind, to meditate, to find relief from the self-imposed tension that had started with her knee-jerk reaction to an uncontrollable circumstance. Trying to control the uncontrollable will get you every time, won't it? So she sat to meditate, and she reached for a thought that often gives her a feeling of ease and comfort right away. She thought about ease and flow. She just focused upon the words ease and flow. But you got to understand, she had a pretty good current going over here. She'd been on it for a while, quite a while, well over an hour. So her attempt to find ease and flow, she held it for a moment, and then right back there she'd go. And then right in the middle of her meditation, she would realize, I'm complaining in the middle of meditation. What's up with that? So then she reached back for ease and flow. She reached back and just for a moment caught a little tail of it, and then before she knew it, she was complaining in her mind again. So now she's extra mad at herself, which always helps a great deal. So now she's thinking, I certainly can find the thought of ease and flow. And she thought about being out on the highways. She loves that. She loves getting behind the wheel of just about any vehicle. They move around in a monster bus. And she thought about the feeling of elation that she often feels as she moves down these wonderful highways with so much beauty surrounding her. And she caught hold of the feeling of ease and flow. And then she milked it. She stayed there just a little bit and thought about why it feels so good, and for a moment loved the landscape and loved the highways and loved her vehicle and loved her life. And she managed to focus enough that she found the dominant resonance with who she is. And then an amazing thing happened. While it had been hard for her to find it at first, now an avalanche of pleasing, wonderful thoughts began to flood her mind. No effort at all. In fact, it would have been harder for her to get back where she started now that she had clicked in to the vibration of who she really is. And then she sat with the most rapturous goosebumps moving through her body as she reunited and felt the relief of moving from outside the vortex in, and then reveling in the raising and the raising and the raising of vibration. And we said to her, now that she was there and now that she could hear us, we said, Esther, milk this. Practice this vibration of being in the vortex. Practice this vibration of being in the vortex. Make this your dominant vibration. Practice this vibration. This is who you are. This is how you are to feel. This is who you be. This is home for you. This is life for you. This is where you belong. And she sat there radiant, glowing to the universe. And then we said, now, reach back to that problem and bring it in here with you and have a look at it from in here. And Esther said, don't make me do it. The bliss inside the vortex is so sublime. Won't I run the risk of the vortex spitting me out? We said, of course you run the risk of the vortex spitting you out, but so what? You know how to get back in. You got to be out there where things are happening in order to know what you want. Of course, there's no risk. Just bring it in and have a look at it. So she brought it in, thought about it, chewed on it for a minute. The vortex spit her right out. It was still in that raw and ragged place, and her attention to it caused her to not be able to stay in alignment with who she was. But the next time, still sitting there, that she went to get in the vortex, she went right in. In other words, she just ignored it for a moment, thought about ease and flow, remembered how good she'd been feeling just a moment ago, went right back in. And we said, now, go get it again.